Isn't that terrific, everyone? Thank you so much to Humankind Public Radio. It's such a beautifully done podcast, and we really appreciate it. Again, Aging in Community is going to be heard on NPR stations nationwide and here at home, and it'll be on WESA this Friday. So Black Friday, listen at 9 a.m. And yeah, you can also listen online as well. We'll put the URL in the chat, but just so happy to have you all here today. And now it's going to be time for our Q&A. We are so happy to have Mike Watson, Director of Livable Communities at AARP, here with us to moderate. Mike works closely with AARP's 53 state offices, as well as volunteers and other stakeholders, to encourage towns, counties, cities to be livable for all ages. Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thanks so much again for being here. You're a busy guy.
Well, you're quite busy and we're all quite busy, but Laura, thank you so much for having me here. It's a real pleasure. And as you said, in my role at AARP, I get the really great pleasure to work with AARP state offices from across the country and folks like yourself who are on the ground leading really important age-friendly initiatives in communities nationwide. So it's a real delight to be here and to talk a little bit more about some of the leadership in Pittsburgh and across the country. And I'm also really pleased, you don't recognize me from the podcast, but I'm really, really pleased to be here and introduce 3 stars from the podcast who are actually with us today. So we're going to introduce them very quickly and head into some questions, and we'll get to hear from them with a little bit more details around what they shared and some other thoughts. So with that, I'm really pleased to go ahead and start introducing them. So first up, you heard his voice as the moderator and our calm guide through the story of age-friendly Pittsburgh and COVID and other communities across the country. I'm going to introduce David Freudberg. He's the executive producer at Human Media and host of Humankind. You just saw David waving, and we'll have a question for him very soon. Next up is Evelyn-Gustave. She's the lead occupational therapist at the Capable program at Johns Hopkins School of Nursing. And then finally, we have Melvin Lewis, who is a Pittsburgh resident and a Computer Reach participant. So thank you all, the 3 of you, for being here. And I know we're really looking forward to getting into the questions. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And before we jump into questions, I just want to start with a little bit of level setting. And we all heard from the audio clip when we were talking about the Crossings, which is an incredible program that we at AARP like to shine a light on any chance we get. But when we heard from that audio clip from the partner, Tem Simrata, he said, "We're truly are safer together. However, it doesn't mean we have to be too serious about this. So we're here to dance today. We're going to dance our way to community." So as we go through today, let's remember that this is a party, and let's all not be too serious about it and have some fun as well. So with that, I'm going to start off with our first question for Melvin and Allie, and then go to David. So Melvin and Allie, this first question is, what was your favorite part of being interviewed for the podcast? Allie, let's start with you and then go to Melvin.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Hello, everyone. Well, I think what was my favorite part was helping the client that is in our program to tell her success story.
That's great. Melvin?
Mine was just, I was fascinated by the fact anybody wanted to know anything about what was going on, and we were able to get some messages out there. A lot of time when you get a certain age, people just don't want to talk to you. So I'm still kind of taken back by all of this attention in a way. So.
Well, I think, David, you've heard 2 great themes right there. I hear storytelling, right? Being able to tell a client story and then being able to tell the story of what's happening in age-friendly Pittsburgh. So, David, the question for you is, what was your highlight in producing the podcast?
Oh, gosh, there were so many wonderful people that I met, and it's a tremendous high for me to watch today some of the folks who I had only met on a single occasion months ago. My trip to Pittsburgh to record the interviews there was the first time I had been to Pittsburgh since I came to interview Mr. Rogers in the early 1980s. So Pittsburgh has evolved, and it was just so cool to meet all of those people. I'm seeing Jim and Mark for the first time since then as well. Just really, really exciting to be with everybody. And this has been a revelation for me. This is a new kind of subject for me to delve into as a documentary maker, and truly appreciating the great contributions, the capacities of the older adults in our community. The statistics are that 70 million baby boomers are entering the retirement period. That's an awful lot of Americans with an awful lot of skills and capacity, who we should be able to make good use of. And finally, let me thank again, Mike, the work at AARP, which was the organization I consulted way back to see if they could recommend candidates to profile for this. And the very top of the list was Pittsburgh. And that's how I got to Laura, and that's how this all came about. So I just want to thank all the participants who were so gracious to me, and of course the funders who are probably no longer still with us, but whose wonderful gifts I continue to benefit from.
Well, thanks, David. And we so appreciate you taking the time to tell the story of the incredible work that's happening in Pittsburgh on Age Friendly. And with that, you mentioned the last time you were in Pittsburgh was to interview Mr. Rogers. And you've interviewed some really impressive people in your time. You've produced documentaries on spirituality and environmentalism. And at AARP and others who are tuning in today, I think one of the things we're always striving to do is to see the media and other leaders pay a little bit more attention to the aging community. So with that, what inspired you to take on aging in community and talk a little bit about it through this podcast series?
You asking me?
Yes.
Honestly, I had read a paper on this about a year and a half ago. I was just tooling around some of the presidential candidates, and one of the candidates happened to be Pete Buttigieg, now the Secretary of Transportation, had published a mind-blowing report on the challenges for the people who are entering retirement. And I read through the whole thing, and I thought, there's a whole series here, a whole dimension of concerns that I hadn't thought about before. And given the fact that, most of us are going to grow into older age, this is something that makes a big difference for me. I turned 66 this year, and a whole lot of other people. And I love telling human stories. You can tell that from the title of our series, Humankind. And I realized there was a whole cornucopia of human stories to tell in this subject. And I'm so grateful it was able to come together. And I'm kind of stunned by this experience of looking at the faces of all the people who I had met along the way, and also meeting some new folks as well. So thank you all so much for joining us today.
Thank you, David. And I think somewhere there is a policy staffer dedicated to aging on Pete Buttigieg's former presidential campaign, whose ears are burning in a very positive way. So thank you for that. Melvin, I'd like to turn to you with this next question. So you learned how to use a computer with support from Computer Reach, which is a partner of Age Friendly Greater Pittsburgh. And you talk about some of the intimidation that older adults feel when they're learning their way around a computer. What would you say to someone who's interested in using a computer, but a bit nervous to start?
Well, just don't be. You have to have a little bit of fight in you just to get older. You got to have some kind of fight in you. And the computer is just another tool. But if you don't have somebody that's going to help you along with it, and the guys from Computer Reach have just been great. Kyle, Dave, and my friend Will is sitting here with me. It's almost like they gave me the keys to a semi truck and told me to drive it. I'm like, well, I don't know how. And they said, we're going to help you with it. So That's, as you get older, you kind of get intimidated by stuff. Some of us do, some of us don't. So somebody hasn't cued me into, my body tells me I'm old, but my mind hasn't told me I'm old yet. So if things stop falling off my body, I think I'll be okay. But it's just been a great thing to have in the house, because some of us don't have family to come around. My family doesn't come around in particular. As they were talking about the statistics in the podcast about how some people live by themselves.
Mhm.
That's me. I don't have a lot of family comes around. This thing opens up me to going back into the world. Some of us get to a point where there's absolutely nothing going on. This computer allows me to do that.
That's great. I think we're going to have to rebrand Nike's phrase, just do it, to Melvin's phrase, just do it. That's something we can all, a lesson we can all take.
You pay me a little bit, I'd be happy with that, yeah.
Does that mean that we will be doing dancing on Nike shoes?
Yeah,
perhaps.
maybe.
Well, thank you, Melvin, and I'll turn to you, Allie, for this next question. You mentioned earlier the importance of storytelling, and you work to ensure that older residents in Baltimore have the ability and can continue to age in their homes, something that we know almost everybody wants to do. But you mentioned stories. Do you have a favorite story that really exemplifies the importance of this work? And what aspects of their home did you and Capable focus on so that they could really continue to age in their community?
So, Mike, I've seen hundreds of people in Capable since the beginning of the pilot study 12 years ago. I've been very blessed to be there since the beginning. And we do focus on home modifications and repairs. We also focus on behavioral changes with people using motivational interviewing techniques to help them, whether it's adapting their routine or using energy conservation techniques, et cetera. But I think my favorite stories are when I call them the twofer. The 2-for-1, when you're working with a client in the home, but there's somebody else in the home that can benefit from what we're doing. So I have a gentleman right now who we've shored up exterior railings, put an interior railing in, so now he has 2 to hold on to help with fall prevention and energy conservation. We've added grab bars in the bathroom by the tub and then by the toilet. But we've also given them some non-medical supplies like non-sliding rugs in the bathroom, safety strips in the tub, repaired the door locks, and gave him a doorbell. So he benefits from it, but he's had 3 strokes, but his cousin, who also has serious orthopedic issues, who lives with him, also benefits from it. So that's why I call it a twofer. We do a lot of those.
I like that. And I think, we have all seen the data around multi-generational homes and family caregiving growing, right? And I think those twofer homes are probably going to be become even more prominent as we look forward. So that's really, really great. So with that, I kind of have a final question for all of you, and then we'll close out with a question for David. And I know we're very tight on time, so probably ask if we can keep these in like the 1 minute, think of your answer in terms of a tweet, I guess. So this podcast, we covered a lot about aging in community. We talked about health equity, digital access, safe streets, housing, everything. I guess for each of you, what would you like to see your community do to make it a better place to grow old? It can be one of those or another topic that's really important to you and your community. And let's start with Allie and then go to David and Melvin.
Please, transportation. It is a huge issue for so many people. And even if there is transportation available, they're not allowed to help you to get in and out of the house. So that's my wish, better transportation services.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie. David?
I guess I was really impressed by Capable and the service that they do, and the ability to go into people's homes to evaluate how safe they are, and then make modifications to make the home safer. I wish that service were available free for everyone in the country, above whatever the age would be, 65. Because it just was obviously so helpful So a big shout out to all the other services here, Computer Reach. I mean, imagine, what it would be like in COVID-19 to be cut off in the way that people are when they don't have internet access. And I just see Ann there from RRF, and I wanted to give her a special shout out as well.
Another important topic I think we hear pretty consistently as well across the country. Melvin, your turn. What's the one thing you would like to see your community do to make it a better place to grow old?
I'd like more people to know about this program that they came to me with. Being that there is a lot of older people in Pittsburgh, a lot of times they don't get the information. And I had even gotten to the point where, you just get locked into not doing anything. I'm happy with what's been going on here with Computer Reach. They've helped me a lot. And I'm trying to tell other people. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of friends that I had told about that, and they were like, they didn't know that anything like that existed. So as long as we can keep having other people helping each other, that's the main thing. Just we're all human beings. We can just keep helping one another, and not give up on the old folks. We live in I think we live in a society now where, once you get to a certain age, they want to just throw you out like an old pop can, but everybody in these pictures, I see all of these beautiful people here. We all have given to the community, to life, and to what's going on. And people like us are going to what keeps the younger ones able to get something. So as long as we keep helping each other and don't give up on one another, and we have companies like, Computer Reach and AARP, and just keep helping each other as we, get to the final destination. I think that's going to keep us rolling on.
I won't try to say anything because Melvin, I think you just said that so perfectly. What a wonderful way to close that out. I will note that I'd encourage folks, if you're able to, drop what you'd most like to see in your community in the chat. I'm seeing a couple ideas in there around housing and opportunities to engage, just like Melvin talked about. And we know that respect and social inclusion is such an important part of that as well. So again, encourage you to drop in what you think would be most important in your community in the chat. And with that, we're going to move into our final question for David. So David, this is the first part of a multi-part podcast. We just heard a portion of it today. What can we look forward to for the next part, and which is available now? And then as we look to part two, that's coming out in December, I know. Where can we find that, and what more do we have to look forward to?
So yes, we heard just the first half of the existing episode, and in the second half of that episode, we have a very interesting exchange with a wheelchair user who is also a technology researcher at the University of Pittsburgh. Kind of a brilliant guy who had been studying engineering, and when he had his accident, which rendered him, a person living with disability, his doctor said, "Why don't you consider rehab engineering?" He said he didn't even know that was a thing. And he's gone into it and has really become a national presence in that. Quite a dramatic story. In the second hour, which will go online in December, hopefully in the first week or so of December, we haven't finished it yet, the focus will be elder care, which is provided by families. The vast majority of elder care in the United States is rendered by adult children and grandchildren who are taking care of their older relatives, and also a very important workforce, the people who are paid care workers who come into the home. So we have extensive conversations with people in both of those categories. It's very moving, and I will note the great strain a lot of these people are under as they do it. And we'll see what happens federally with President Biden's proposal in the Build Back Better Act to infuse $150 billion into elder care. If that comes to pass, I think it will be a game changer. So I encourage everybody to check it out. If you go to humanmedia.org, you can hear what's now up there free and what is shortly to be there free as well, somewhere around the beginning of December.
Great. Well, I know I look forward to tuning in, and I'm sure everyone else does here as well. And with that, David, want to thank you. Want to thank you so much, Allie. Want to thank you so much, Melvin. This has been such a delight to be able to be here and put some faces to the names and voices, and connect with you and moderate this conversation, and to see everyone tuning in today. And before we wrap, I just want to Laura to close this out. So thank you all again.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Allie, David, Melvin. Incredible to have you all here. Also, Jim and Mark, who we gave a shout out to earlier, part of the podcast, who also joined us. I just want to say quickly that when David was mentioning what's to come in the next part, that's the story of Pathview, which is another one of our partners at Age Friendly. So please, listen to the rest of the podcast. And I just want to say, creating a more inclusive, respectful community is a collective effort, and we have so many people who have been part of the 60 plus folks who have been on the Zoom today, who have been really part of this work together. And I want to say thank you. It's Thanksgiving week. Thanks to all of you for everything you do. We hope you have a wonderful holiday, a safe and just really great time with your family and friends. And we will see you soon. Thank you so much, everybody, for being part of this party.